prayed.
The storm was part of a large system that's sweeping across the United States. And that's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on your 24/7 news source, the Block Information Network, and BINnews.com.
Commerce, we're seeing troubles on that 710. It's a problem in Torrance, and looks like Sherman Oaks, the 101 east as you get to Van Nuys Boulevard. Stalled vehicles stuck in the left lane. That is busy your drive as far back as Tampa as you head through Tarzana. Torrance, troubles on that 405 north approaching Crenshaw. This is in the construction area. Trying to clear a crash here, and that busy drive coming away from Avalon as far back as the Carson area. Commerce at 710 north as you get up to the 5 freeway. Crash cleared onto the right shoulder, 710 north to the 5 transition. That has slowed the drive there from at least the 105 freeway. And Toluca Lake, your 134 west, approaching Cahuenga Boulevard. Crash from earlier onto the right side, leaving Burbank right around Tass Avenue. You're on and off the brakes.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with savings on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Is this the time?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers got another strong performance from their dynamic duo to beat Minnesota 99-88. Paul George delivered a triple-double with 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kawhi Leonard had 19 points and 8 rebounds in 31 minutes. The Clippers have won 3 straight. The UC Board of Regents gave final approval for UCLA to move to the Big Ten Conference in 2024. The 11-5 vote has conditions. UCLA must pay up to $10 million to Cal Berkeley to compensate for revenue the school is expected to lose when UCLA leaves the Pac-12. USC, which is not a member of the UC system, is also moving to the Big Ten in 2024. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
Four racial arsonists set LA City Hall on fire. And everybody is running out of the building straight to KBLA Talk 1580.
I am pleased to welcome LA City Councilman Mike Bonin to this program. Councilman, how are you, sir?
Hello. Thank you, Tavis.
Councilmember Curran Price, good to have you on, sir. How are you today?
I'm well, Tavis. Thank you. Good to be with you and your listeners.
I'm pleased to have LA City Councilwoman Monica Rodriguez on this program. How are you today, ma'am?
Good morning, Tavis.
Councilman O'Farrell, good to have you on, sir. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Tavis. So glad to join you this morning.
Councilman Koretz, welcome to this program, sir. How are you?
I'm honored to be on your show. Still in shock from the events of the last few days.
Marquise Harris Dawson, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique, and good morning to the KBLA family.
Councilmember Heather Hutt, good morning.
Good morning, Dominique.
I am pleased to welcome the new president of the LA City Council, Paul Kokoy. Mr. President, how are you, sir?
Good morning, Tavis. I'm well. Thank you very much.
Holding all politicians accountable to you. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Making a list and checking it twice. Gonna find out who's naughty and nice. Santa Claus coming to town, oh yeah. Santa Claus is coming to town. Santa Claus is coming to town.
I'm Tavis Smiley. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. So glad to have you with us in this hour. Jarvis Middleton, a black police officer, was fired last year for allegedly helping BLM activists in his hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. His punishment was far more severe than the punishment meted out to white officers in the same department for violations that range from stalking a fellow officer to injuring civilians in a patrol car chase to sharing nude photos with civilians to even pulling a gun on a policeman's girlfriend. Recently, a judge dismissed Middleton's lawsuit alleging racial discrimination inside that department. His attorneys plan to appeal. Gab Chevenet has written a number of articles about the fate of police who challenge racist systems and joins us in this hour to discuss Blue Minority Rebels, or how America became so great for police in the first place, if you will. Gab Chevenet, good to have you on this program. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
It's
glad to be here.
Great to have you. My honor. I've been following your work and reading your stuff here. I want to talk more broadly, as I said a moment ago, about these black cops in these blue spaces, particularly when they challenge these institutions. But let me start by standing down and giving you a few minutes to explain and share the story of one Jarvis Middleton. Take it away.
Sure. So Jarvis was a 13-year veteran of LPD, Lexington Police Department, until the George Floyd uprisings in summer of 2020, in which he expressed solidarity, which he had been doing before in subtle ways. But when he started having phone conversations with a local Black Lives Matter activist named Sarah Williams, and the police, his colleagues in the mostly white police force in Lexington, found out about it, they very quickly did everything by the book, which is very rare for departments to do, to quickly fire him. Got him fired by a unanimous vote in a quasi-trial format put on, overseen by the city council and the mayor, as you just stated. And now he has been for all of these months since then embroiled in legal battles against the department, charging racial discrimination in his case.
Tell me more about why. Not why, what? What, in fact, was he alleged to have done supporting BLM? I made that reference. It's kind of broad, and I think it deserves some unpacking. So what was he alleged to have done with or on behalf of BLM?
His department and the prosecutors in that quasi-trial for his disciplinary hearing, they accused him of sharing sensitive information, sensitive police information, implying that it was supposed to be private, only for police eyes, and things like this included letting activists know when riot forces were rolling out. And they also hinged their case closely on his disparagement of colleagues, fellow white officers. And they pushed that very, very hard in their case against Jarvis.
When you say disparagement of other officers, fellow officers, what do you mean by disparagement? What does that mean?
It means like feeding Sarah Williams in particular names of white officers, things they've done, like sharing lewd photos of themselves, doing all sorts of racist activities that then the prosecutors showed Sarah used during rallies that summer through megaphone and in the protests. Like, they built their case around that as if to prove that that is the reason why Jarvis had to be fired.
Tell me what his defense was. So you said this sort of quasi tribunal, if you will, that found him guilty and got him fired. What was his defense? What did he say?
Free speech. Yeah, that was his main defense. That he was expressing his free speech. He was off duty. that nothing that he said, and this was backed up by a number of experts, notably a former head of a whole department in college in Lexington University named Gary Potter, a criminologist, who pointed out that there was nothing that Jarvis shared that wasn't or couldn't be public knowledge. Like, why is it so bad to let activists know this is how you can stay safe? Like, FYI, you should know this, you should know that. And so Jarvis saying free speech as a citizen, and others coming to his defense, showing that there wasn't any kind of classified information, if you will, that he shared that was improper, certainly not illegal.
Mm-hmm. Just getting started in conversation with Gab Chevenet, talking about the curious case of Jarvis Middleton. You've heard a bit from Gab about the situation that Jarvis Middleton found himself in for aiding and abetting, as it were, Black Lives Matter protesters. What we have not talked about it as yet, and we will when we come forward, is how this compares to all the other white cops in that department in Lexington who did all kinds of crazy things and were met with much less severe punishment if they were punished at all. We'll talk about that side of the story when we come forward with Gab Chevenet on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Bring in the new year with Ted Williams. He's coming to Ontario in the Toyota Arena December 30th. And in Los Angeles in the Microsoft Theater December 31st.
I don't know what I'm going to do about this light bill. Just hit the blunt one time and see if it don't change your perception of what's important in your life. I don't know what I'm going to do about this life. Them boys. I got 12 candles. I've been waiting to burn them.
He's back with an all-new show. It's the award-winning comedian, Cat Williams.
Just so you knew they was lying, they said some next that don't even make mathematical sense. They said there's a chicken wing shortage, but we got plenty thighs.
Cat Williams with his special guests, Marco, Tommy Davidson, Tony Roberts, Daphne Springs, and Pretty Ricky. In Ontario, get tickets at Ticketmaster. In Los Angeles at AXS.com. Bring in the new year with Cat Williams.
Warmest wishes for a joyous holiday season and a happy new year from your friends at KBLA Talk 1580 and MVP Accident Attorneys.
3-time WNBA champions, the Los Angeles Sparks, jump into their 27th season this summer with the most games ever in league history. Every seat in crypto is an incredible ticket into an experience of world-class professional basketball, jam-packed with in-game entertainment. Now is the time to get ahead of the holidays. Don't be the person grabbing a gas station gift card. Impress your fam and friends with an unforgettable experience. Secure your seats now at lasparks.com/tickets.
Let me guess. Unknown caller? You could reduce the number of unwanted calls and emails with online privacy protection. The latest innovation from Discover will help regularly remove your personal info, like your name and address, from 10 popular people search websites that could sell your data. And we'll do it for free. Activate in the Discover app. See terms and learn more at discover.com/online privacy protection.
This Sunday and every Sunday is the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Get free groceries, essential resources, and buy black from local merchants of arts, beauty, custom black merchandise, and more. Choose from a wide variety of cuisines, custom-made clothing, jewelry, and a lot more. Experience the true essence of Africatown at Lamert Park every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join the Drum Circle, dance, enjoy live performances, connect with other conscious black people. Experience black excellence every Sunday in Africatown at Lamert Park. You can find us on Degnan Boulevard near Vernon and Crenshaw in the heart of Africatown at Lamert Park. That's the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Join us for music, shopping, food, and fun this and every Sunday. Support black businesses, recycle black dollars, and feed your soul. The African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market every Sunday in Africatown at Lamert Park. Brought to you by Africatown Enterprise and the African Village Vendors Association.
Conversations that matter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
We continue our conversation now with Gab Shivane, writer for Mother Jones, in this fascinating piece about this black police officer named Jarvis Middleton, who was fired by the police department in Lexington, Kentucky, for allegedly helping BLM activists and trying to juxtapose the ways in which he was put upon and the other cases of white cops in that department who were not met with the same kind of punishment. This won't surprise anybody in this audience, of course. This happens all the time, but it's a case study that people are talking about for how black officers are treated when they do speak out in these blue spaces. And Gab Shivane is the writer of this particular article and other pieces about black officers who are met with resistance, firing, and beyond when they push back against the kind of nonsense we see happening in police departments, sadly, all across this country. Before I get to the other side, these other cops in this same department, Gab, who have not been met again with the same kind of punishment, tell me a bit more about the appeal. As I mentioned earlier, the case is on appeal now. But I'm curious as to why the case was dismissed. The case of racial discrimination filed by Jarvis Middleton didn't sit well with the judge. The judge dismissed the case, but can you tell me why it was dismissed?
Partly on a technicality. You see, this isn't Jarvis's first brush up with disciplinary procedures. A couple of years ago, he was involved in one that resulted in his demotion from sergeant, and which is the highest rank he could get to in 13 years, that he points to as other evidence of being kept down as a black officer on the force in disproportionately racially unbalanced force, where he, as I said, used to be a sergeant. He used to be a public spokesperson, but he lost both of those and was demoted all the way to the bottom as a patrol officer for series of incidents that as the local press said, besmirched the department. It involved an alleged extramarital affair and Jarvis utilizing police resources unduly to spy on her, on the woman who put out an order of protection on Middleton. And see, from years before, there were numerous racial discrimination incidents against Jarvis, that some of which he brought against the department. He spoke out against it, and the union helped him file grievances. And so there was a plea bargain between this case against Middleton regarding the woman and these other cases of racial discrimination. And so Middleton agreed to agreed to the demotion and kept his job in trade for dropping these allegations, these other grievances and racial discrimination. And so when this appeal flashed forward to 2022, on November 2022, the judge is seeing that in that bargain, the things in Middleton's case were agreed upon that they would never be brought forward. So it's one of those legal technicalities, and Middleton's lawyer, Sam Aguiar, is still pretty confident and hopeful that this appeals court will reconsider and rule in their favor.
So let me do a contrast and comparison here. I said earlier that the way that Jarvis Middleton was summarily fired by this department in Lexington is quite different, dramatically different from the way that white cops in this very same department, never mind the fact his case has been dismissed, as you mentioned, it's on appeal, but his treatment is far different than the way others who happen not to have melanin in their skin in this department have been treated. Talk to me about that side of the story.
Yeah, and they did things way worse. So, for example, I mentioned lewd pics, and we're talking about white colleagues in uniform sharing pictures of their penises with private citizens or in public forums, according to the lawsuit. Mm-hmm. Although these officers received suspension, members of the city council were told only that these officers had engaged in quote-unquote inappropriate conduct. So this is also part of a pattern of the council during this disciplinary hearing not being told the extent of the disproportion of as you said, white officers getting away with so many things in the same overall area that Middleton is accused of. But their infractions are so much more worse and very disturbing. Beyond the lewd pics, sharing lewd pics, there was an officer who pulled a gun on a woman he had been seeing, a white officer, and the white officer sent the woman who is white a series of angry texts, repeatedly calling her the N-word, whore, N-word lover, effing whore, die from penis, really, really disturbing stuff. In fact, one of the quotes that he said, some hours later, did your monkey boyfriend come over? And this white officer was given a 6-month suspension and was still on the force when Jarvis was being disciplined in 2021. And that's just one officer. Another one drove under the influence on multiple occasions, totaled his police cruiser, and managed to delay blood alcohol testing for 4 hours and got away with a 2-month suspension after that. There was another one who dragged a suspect from a police cruiser, shoved him, put his hands on the man's throat, 3 weeks suspension. Still, another went to a wedding where she left her gun unattended for hours, got into a drunken brawl, striking a guest on the head and face, and engaging in an altercation with the groom's father, 20 hours. And it shows in very disturbing detail each of these white colleagues, again, doing the most insane and terrible, violent, racist behaviors, and they get little slap on the wrist. And that's what I just said is not even all of it, not even the worst of it. And here Jarvis, as he and his legal team have been saying, Jarvis is, especially in the alleged, stalker case and the order of protection, he knows that he behaved badly, but the things that these other white colleagues were doing and got away with essentially for not much discipline at all is just so disproportionate to what was happening to Jarvis.
Yeah, this case of Jarvis Middleton is obviously a very specific and peculiar case in the city of Lexington, Kentucky, but I know that you've written a number of articles and are working on, I'm sure, I'm told at least, a book about this. And so this is not the only case, obviously, in this country where you see this sort of pattern where black officers, again, who try to speak out against injustices and unfairness in police departments end up being themselves punished and oftentimes fired. So the question is, how bad a pattern is this across the country where, again, black officers critique these blue spaces in which they operate, and they end up being punished for doing so.
Yeah, and for that, I talked with especially this NYPD officer who did manage to keep his job, probably because there is often strength in numbers. His name is Edwin Raymond, and he's part of a suit with numerous other NYPD officers, black and people of color. And in an interview I did with Edwin, he told me that he would be getting calls during that summer of 2020. And here are two cops, two black officers, Edwin Raymond and Jarvis Middleton. They're on opposite sides of the country. They don't know each other. And Edwin and I discussed the case against Jarvis, and Edwin told me that policing the protests that summer was absolutely brutal. He told me, those were his words. He fielded daily calls from black colleagues who, like Middleton, were deeply frustrated and, quote, saying they were going to quit, saying they didn't like what happened to Mr. Floyd. They were at the protest they didn't want to be at. And so over in Chicago, there was another case of where the particularly conservative white union, the Fraternal Order of Police, they were specifically a leader in Chicago was threatening action, like legal action, or at least like suspending any cops who showed any kind of solidarity with the Black Lives Matter movement. And there was one officer who was a veteran, more than 20 years on the force, who found that to be insulting, like an affront on her free speech. And she took a picture of herself taking a knee and holding up the power fist outside the offices of the Fraternal Order of Police. And true to his word, she was suspended and then found herself embroiled in a battle over that discipline that she received. And so this was going on all over the place, and this is just this summer. But yeah, I've looked into the history across the entire 200-year history of policing in this country, and there are a number of cases all throughout the whole history of officers, white and black, that where they rebelled against the system when the system, like it did to Jarvis, failed them and betrayed them.
That's the story of what it means to be an African-American officer, sadly, in police departments all across this country. You push back against these departments and practices and policies that are unjust, that are unfair, and you end up being put upon yourself. So the case of Jarvis Middleton, again, is but one example of something that we know to be a pattern across the nation, and I'm glad that Gab Shivani wrote about this for Mother Jones and brought this case and others to our attention. We look forward to the book from Gab Shivani, coming soon, Blue Minority Rebels, or How America Became So Great for Police. And we thank Gab for the conversation in this half hour. When we come forward after news, traffic, and sports, we will shift gears and be joined by Dr. Wendy Talley, who's been a guest on this program before. She is back today, as you heard us announce yesterday, the breaking news. It's now everywhere. That Twitch, the longtime DJ, who became famous for being a great dancer and then is selected by Ellen DeGeneres to be her DJ every day, committed suicide yesterday at the age of 40. Another black man who decides that the only way out is to take his own life. And every time we have to have these conversations, it troubles me, but I don't want this moment to pass without us having some conversation the day after about what it means and how we arrest this development of black men increasingly taking their own lives. We'll be joined by Dr. Wendy Talley when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. K.O. And we don't black down.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden will soon visit Africa as his administration works to strengthen ties in the region. His comments come at the tail end of a 3-day U.S.-Africa summit. A Washington State County jury has found Sheriff Ed Troyer not guilty of false reporting after he called the police on a black newspaper carrier in 2021. The jury acquitted Troyer on all charges. 25-year-old African-American Cedric Altheimer was delivering newspapers in January of 2021 when Troyer started to follow him and then called 911 claiming Altheimer was threatening to kill him. Troyer later admitted to police that Altheimer never threatened him. A new report from LendingClub.com finds that the number of Americans living paycheck to paycheck is nearing an all-time high. 63% of Americans surveyed said they are depending on their next paycheck to make ends meet. And that's the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Commerce, we're seeing troubles on that 710. It's a problem in Torrance and looks like Sherman Oaks, the 101 east as you get to Van Nuys Boulevard. Stalled vehicle stuck in the left lane. That is busied your drive as far back as Tampa as you head through Tarzana. Torrance, troubles on that 405 north approaching Crenshaw. This is in the construction area. Trying to clear a crash here, and that busy drive coming away from Avalon as far back as the Carson area. Commerce at 710 north as you get up to the 5 freeway. Crash cleared onto the right shoulder, 710 north to the 5 transition. That has slowed the drive there from at least the 105 freeway. And Toluca Lake, your 134 west, approaching Cahuenga Boulevard. Crash from earlier onto the right side, leaving Burbank right around Tass Avenue. You're on and off the brakes.
Dell's Days of Deals start now with savings on select XPS laptops and Alienware PCs powered by 12th Gen Intel Core processors, plus savings on accessories and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL. That's 877-ASK-DELL.
Is this the Tavis?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Clippers got another strong performance from their dynamic duo to beat Minnesota 99-88. Paul George delivered a triple-double with 17 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kawhi Leonard had 19 points and 8 rebounds in 31 minutes. The Clippers have won 3 straight. The UC Board of Regents gave final approval for UCLA to move to the Big Ten Conference in 2024. The 11-5 vote has conditions. UCLA must pay up to $10 million to Cal Berkeley to compensate for revenue the school is expected to lose when UCLA leaves the Pac-12. USC, which is not a member of the UC system, is also moving to the Big Ten in 2024. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
Okay, so here's the truth about December 17th and why you should register on DeionRamble.com. Okay, get ready. DeionRamble.com and why you should register for a free event about contracts. December 17th to be with me, Rambo, and my special guest. First of all, if you don't have a lot of contracts right now, you need to be there. Like, the whole new year is coming in. I've been doing these events for a while now. Every event has over 500 minority business owners there. So if you haven't attended, you need to attend. And if you have attended, you probably already started winning contracts because the event's free. December 17th is a Saturday. It's only for 2 hours. My special guest can only talk up to 6 minutes. And these are the mayor's office, LA counties talking about contracts, the city, DeionRamble.com. So if I haven't convinced you December 17th to come to DeionRamble.com and register, I really don't know what else to do. It's all about contracts. DeionRamble.com, DeionRamble.com.
The Los Angeles Urban League helps African American and others in underserved communities achieve true social parity, economic self-reliance, and civil rights. For over 100 years, Los Angeles Urban League has ensured our communities have access to careers with living wages, opportunities to start and grow businesses, and clear pathways to personal and professional growth. Programs like BizCamp, Construction Career Academy, Bob Business Ready, and B-Warp. The Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program are examples of the ongoing events designed to make our centennial mission to rebuild Black Wall Street right here in LA a reality. To sign up for our newsletter or to support the Los Angeles Urban League with your time, talent, and donations, visit laul.org. That's laul.org. The Los Angeles Urban League is a proud sponsor of Urban Family Focus, Saturdays at 7 a.m. on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 wishes you a happy holiday and wants to bless you with one night only. A Wonder Winter's Night presented by Stevie Wonder's House Full of Toys benefit concert. Saturday, December 17th at Microsoft Theater. Download the KBLA Talk 1580.com mobile app to enter to win a pair of tickets. This has been a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580. This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
I'm Tavis Smiley, pleased to be joined now by Dr. Wendy Talise Talley, corporate wellness expert, and has worked in the mental health field for almost 25 years now. She's the founder and CEO of Talise Consulting Group, a corporate group practice providing mental health treatment. I am honored to have her back on this program, although once again under difficult circumstances. Dr. Wendy, how are you today, first of all?
I am well, Tavis. Thank you so much for having me, and how are you?
I'm doing the best I can, again, under these circumstances. I hate to complain. As I say all the time, if I complain, that'd be an ingrate. But if there were anything to complain about, it would be about this reality that we are faced with once again, and that is black men who think that the only way out is to take their own lives. So yesterday, the news broke while I was on the air, in fact. We had to push it out yesterday when it hit the wires that Stephen Twitch Boss had killed himself. We know Twitch as Ellen DeGeneres as a longtime DJ on a very popular daytime show, no longer running in first run at least. But he was there for many years with Ellen, and the tributes have been pouring in from everywhere, of course, as you might imagine. To and about Twitch, and certainly our prayers and well wishes go out to his wife and to his 3 children, to his family, particularly and especially during the holiday season. And I want to get to that in just a second here. We just had a guest on this program days ago with a new book out called Grief is Love. Grief is Love. If you missed that conversation, you want to go to our any of our platforms and find that podcast, find that conversation we had just days ago. About grief being love. And we had that conversation because, as you well know, Dr. Wendy, in the holiday season, while many of us are celebrating, others are just trying to navigate their way through because they've lost loved ones during the holiday season. And every time they get to this time of the year, it just brings back all of those feelings. And so we'll talk about the holiday season and how to navigate grief with you as you see it in a moment. A season that is typically about comfort and warmth and family for most of us, but not for everybody, as I said a moment ago. But I want to start with whether or not you think when these sorts of ugly incidents, tragic incidents happen, whether or not it focuses us as it ought on the fact that it's okay to ask for help. And I don't know all that was going on in his life. I just know that his wife apparently was stunned and shocked, had no idea that this was about to be a choice he was going to make, an option that was on the table for him. And I'm always curious as to how people who endure this process it themselves and how they don't blame themselves for not seeing something that was about to happen that would be so tragic. But what say you about whether or not these incidents, raise high enough on the agenda, the fact that it is okay for us to ask for help when we're going through difficult seasons of our lives?
Yes. So, you just said it. It's just something that we you never know when somebody's going through something, and it is a shock to most. And what individuals don't understand is that during the holiday season, just like you said, you're bringing up all of these memories, good, bad, or indifferent, about things have happened. You've missed folks and things like that. And people find themselves a lot of times forced to either be isolative. They don't want to be around. They start to have depressive symptoms. We've talked about that before. And they really begin to feel like their life does not matter. You even have people who are dealing with high-functioning depression. And those folks they look like he did, like Stephen did.
Mm-hmm.
He was fine. He danced his whole life around, and he was living out his dream. He had his beautiful wife and kids, but deep down inside he was suffering. And we have to make this. I know we have all these other issues that we're dealing with, but Black men and depression and suicide, it's an emergency. It's a crisis. Mm-hmm. It's a global epidemic, and we really need to fix that. Yeah. And so, during this time, during the holiday season, we have to know it is going into silence and stuffing it down is not the way to go. We are seeing the effects of when we just don't ask for help. Family members have to be able to let these folks know that we are not going to tease you and make you feel like something's wrong with you when you ask for help.
In your practice, you've been at this for a quarter century now. What have you discovered, Dr. Wendy, about why it is so difficult in particular for Black men to talk, for Black men to ask for help?
We've speculated this in so many different ways, but Black men specifically in this conversation have a weight of the world on their shoulders. Mm-hmm. For being a man, for being Black, especially being targeted and all of that, but just being able to feel comfortable and not going to be stigmatized and labeled and demeaned and made to feel weak, that you need help. Those microaggressions, those masculine toxic belief systems that we all experience, that when they grow up in the world, I'm a mother of a 17-year-old, Black son. I'm
Mm-hmm.
African American.
Mm-hmm.
And, really having him to be okay with just feeling. And when you have these pressures and you don't have somebody to talk to, when you don't feel like you have a safe space, you will go within and you won't have a conversation at all. And I'm not sure, in a sense of, the closing or the downfall of Ellen's show, how much of that was an impact.
Sure.
He's the king of his household.
Mm-hmm.
He has 3 children. He has a wife. He still has an obligation as a man and a provider. What type of impact was that having?
Yeah.
And even though he was smiling and all of that, was he concerned about the well-being of his children, and he didn't feel like this was a way out?
Yeah.
And Black men need to know that there is a way out.
The first thing I thought about, and again, it's hard to speculate on these things because we don't know what was going on inside his head, inside his heart, inside his world. But to your point, what we do know was that once the Ellen show was canceled, he didn't roll into another gig right away.
No, he did not.
And I have been, I've been at this 30 years in my career, Dr. Wendy. So there have been times that I've been extremely busy, and I've been very fortunate. For most of my career, I've never stopped working. But there have been times, you can't survive 30 years in this business without being fired from some job. So we've all been fired before in the media broadcast business. Your show ends, they fire you, they change direction. You're not going to have a 30, 40-year run uninterrupted. The business just doesn't work that way. And I've had moments where I wasn't, at the top of my game, so to speak. And I remember specifically after I got fired by BET many years ago, praying. I remember being on my knees and praying that I would not discover in the months after being fired by BET that I could not make a distinction between who I am and what I do. I said, Lord, please don't let me find out that I can't make a clear distinction between who I am and what it is that I do. I know so many people in this business. I've seen this happen so many times. Some who've taken their lives, others who've just struggled with depression, others who've lost their way, because when the show ends, when the music stops, when the applause is no more, and certainly in Hollywood, people know this story well, that people just feel like they have no worth, they have no value. And again, I'm not casting aspersion on him. I do not know what's going on inside his head or heart. But since you raised that point, I just want to augment that I know what that feels like. I know people who've had to navigate that, and having to learn that who you are is not what you do. And what I want to come back to in just a second when we come forward is this connected to this notion is why it is that we see the numbers of black men committing suicide, and we know, as you well know, that black men are committing suicide at a faster, higher rate than anybody else. It's this suicide thing is impacting and affecting black men in ways that it's not affecting or impacting anybody else. Here's my question. Why, though, are all these black men so young? These are not black men who are chronologically gifted, if I can put it that way, who are killing themselves. What is happening? One, that it's black men who are doing this more than anybody else. And number two, why is it always the case that these are young black men? The last time you were on here, we were talking about Regina King's son, Ian, taking his life. Why are they always so young? And what does that mean about what we have to do to help black men understand that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And because this didn't work out doesn't mean that your life is over, and that that there are other opportunities that will come, that you can't reinvent yourself, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk about that specific issue of why black men and why black men who are in fact so young when we come forward with Dr. Wendy Talley on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
At Cedars-Sinai, we're honored to be named the #1 hospital in California and the #2 hospital in the nation in U.S. News and World Report's Best Hospitals Honor Roll. We're also proud to be named #1 in 6 specialties in Los Angeles. Thank you to our physicians, nurses, academic leaders, and thousands of other team members who bring their best to Cedars-Sinai every day. Learn more about our top-ranked care at cedars-sinai.org.
Did you know it pays to drive electric? With government rebates, you'll save thousands on the purchase of a new or used EV. And the more you drive, the more you'll save, both on fuel and maintenance far into the future. Start seeing savings today. Learn more at ladwp.com/EV. That's ladwp.com/EV.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
I'm asking about Prevnar 20 because there's a chance pneumococcal pneumonia could put me in the hospital.
Age 65 or older, you may be at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine, a Pfizer vaccine that can help protect against pneumococcal pneumonia in just 1 dose. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. The most commonly reported side effect was pain at the injection site. For additional common side effects and full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
I want to be able to keep my plans.
So I'm asking my doctor about getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
Hi, this is Stevie Wonder, and nothing can stop this love. It's back. Join me at my 24th House Full of Toys benefit concert, Saturday, December 17th at the Microsoft Theater.
Please bring an unwrapped toy.
Or a gift of joy, and make this a day of giving to the young and old.
Stevie Wonder.
My 24th House Full of Toys benefit concert.
Tickets on sale now at AXS.com.
Produced by Wonder Productions and promoted by AEG.
Looking for legitimate political discourse without the bear spray? Tune in and speak out. KBLA Talk 1580.
Continuing our conversation now, sadly, about the tragic death of Twitch, Stephen Twitch Boss, Ellen DeGeneres' longtime DJ. The story is all over the news. It broke yesterday while we were on the air, and we're coming back to it today with an expert, Dr. Wendy Talley, on the back half of this hour, to try to understand why this is happening, specifically to black men, and what, if anything, can be done about it. I was making the point a moment ago, Dr. Wendy, as you heard, that I have had in my own career to pray to make sure that when you have these seasons in your career where things are sort of dry, that you don't equate what you do with who you are, because that can get you in trouble. You start to feel like you don't matter anymore because you're not on TV every day or not on radio every day. You don't hear the applause and that can get inside you. And you can start to experience what we discussed yesterday on this program, imposter syndrome, right? Start faulting yourself. Yes. We had an hour discussion about imposter syndrome, powerful conversation on this program yesterday. But my question right quick is, what do you make of the fact that these black men that seem to be, that are in fact committing suicide, every time we see the data, it seems to be young black men who apparently have not been able to wrap their brains around the fact that this is a long distance run. It's a marathon, not a sprint. How do you see that?
Absolutely. They're really struggling. I mean, the rates are coming out between 24 to age 36. Young black men are really just finding the option of just, going ahead and taking their life because of the weight of the pressures, from the financial hardship, from having to deal with the fact of not being able to live up to whatever expectations. And also, too, you hit the nail on the head, being a man and having to define, who am I, what am I, and do I even make, a dent in this world? Am I valued? And so when black men are not given the opportunity to continue to keep rising, to overcome, to be able to, get over the hurdles, whether if you're getting fired or whether your business has gone under or whether if you lost a relative or whatever the loss may be or the struggle, like you said, identity is so important. Identity for black people as a whole, as a global whole, is so important.
Yes.
When you talk about black men, the identity falls where? It is not just my name. It is not just because who I'm related to, but how can I provide? How can I be able to, have a successful career in whatever it is that I do? And then, will I ever fall out the graces of the limelight? It could be in Hollywood. It could be, in your community or in your family. Do I even matter? And can I do this? And it's the whole premise of, can I even still do this? I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And I have to say this, the reason why that I believe black men are not speaking up, we don't teach our young black boys how to communicate. We don't teach our young black boys how to say, I need help. And asking for help is okay. How can I have this safe space without being teased? This is something that I teach my son, who's 17 years old, all the time. I have to admit, being transparent, my son was actually thinking of committing suicide when myself and his father were going through a divorce. And it was years of just issues. And I really had to pay attention to him and ask him, you need to talk to me. I don't care if you have to write it down. I don't care if you draw it out. I don't care what do you need to do, but you got to get it out. It's going to be okay. I'm not going to be upset with you. You're not going to be less loved because you are feeling this way. Black men need to know that they are loved.
When we come forward in our remaining moments with Dr. Wendy Talley, I want to ask her what we say, what we do about the fact that so many black men, so many young black men, those who are choosing to take their own lives, see asking for help as a sign of weakness. That is part of the problem, that they see asking for help as a sign of weakness, and no black man who I know wants to appear to be weak. But what do we do about it? Our remaining moments with Dr. Wendy Talley when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We don't try to be all things to all people. We just remain true to who we are. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 invites you to join us in celebrating the season of giving by being part of the solution. As we enjoy great food, family, warmth, and well wishes in whatever our festive tradition may be, we share the beauty of the season by reaching out to the less fortunate. Please help us to help others with the KBLA Cover the Houseless Cozy Community Coat and Blanket Drive. All you have to do is drop off new or clean, gently used winter coats and blankets in the KBLA lobby during business hours. Now through December 20th, all of the coats and blankets will be donated to unsheltered individuals and families experiencing houselessness. Simply bring your donation to 4434 Crenshaw Boulevard in Los Angeles, near Vernon Avenue, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. weekdays. That's 4434 Crenshaw in historic Leimert Park. During the holidays and every day, let's remember, we keep us safe. We keep us warm. We are the safety net, and together we can cover the unsheltered. Get caught up in the spirit of the season, the spirit of love. Make a difference with your friends at KBLA Talk 1580.
Warmest wishes for a joyous holiday season and a happy new year from your friends at KBLA Talk 1580 and MVP Accident Attorneys.
When you're young, life is full of choices. Don't let opioids like highly addictive and deadly fentanyl take away your life with just one wrong pill. Addiction is a disease that can affect anyone at any age. But there is a choice to get help for this disease. Find medically proven treatment options, including virtual, at choosemat.org.
Over 100 million people around the world have felt the thrill of Broadway's most spectacular musical, Disney's The Lion King. And now you can too. Experience this breathtaking theatrical event and see why the New York Times declares there is simply nothing else like it.
Give the gift that roars at the Pantages Theater, February 2nd through March 26th. Visit BroadwayInHollywood.com.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
Let's get back to Dr. Wendy Talley talking about suicide in Black America, particularly and especially among Black men, given the tragic loss of Stephen Twitch Boss yesterday. A quick factoid I want to read to you. Over the last decade, suicide rates in the U.S. have increased dramatically among racial and ethnic minorities, and Black Americans in particular. Suicide deaths occur across the lifespan, but have increased most dramatically for Black youth. The highest rate of death is among Black Americans aged 25 to 36, as you heard Dr. Wendy say earlier in this conversation. And here at KBLA Talk 1580, it seems to me that if Black Talk Radio is about anything, it is ought to be about bringing these kinds of conversations into the public arena and not sweeping them under the rug. And every time there's another high-profile suicide, we come back to these conversations because something has to be done to arrest this development. And one of the things we have to wrestle with, Dr. Talley, is this notion that so many Black men have that asking for help is a sign of weakness. What say you?
Absolutely. It is not a sign of weakness. You are actually, stronger in your vulnerability. And when you find that you need to be able to make a turn, asking for help in your weakness increases your ability to be stronger. You have more control in that space. We need to understand that silence is not golden. Silence, is very toxic. And so Black men need to know, and all people need to know, but especially Black men need to know that if you ask for help in your weakness, if you ask for help in your limitations, that you can be able to become stronger in the space that you want to become in. You don't have to stay there, and I think that family members need to know what to say in those spaces. One, don't be judgmental. If you have a family member that, could not be, acting their normal self, their appearance is changing, or they could be extremely anxious, they're overworking, they don't seem to always have things together, you may want to ask them, hey, do you need some help? Do you need me to support you on anything? I think we need to really begin to have those conversations so they no longer feel weak.
The thing about this, I'll close on this note, the thing about this for me, Dr. Wendy Talley, that is so disturbing beyond the obvious that we've lost another talented brother. What bothers me most is that of all the things that Black people face, this is preventable. There's so many things that happen to us that we just can't control. We can't control that folk demean us and demonize and disenfranchise us. We fight back, and when we fight, we win. So nothing wrong with the fight back, but so many things happen to Black folk every day that we just can't control. But here is something, finally, that is preventable, and that's what makes my heart hurt so badly, Dr. Wendy.
Absolutely. It does not have to be this way. This is not a selfish act. This is not something somebody wants to do. He made peace with that, and it has happened over time. This was not just something sudden. Here in California, we have that text number 988 that the Department of Mental Health has created. People can text that for them to be able to get the crisis help. Family members, you can even call this number and ask for help. Hey, I have a family member that's going through this. Somebody please help me. 211 is another resource. This can be preventable if we are able to provide the safe spaces for people to talk. And we need to be able to let them know we are here, we love you, and you matter.
Dr. Wendy Talley, we love you and you matter, and we thank you for always being there when we call you. And it seems we're always calling you in moments of crisis, but that's why you do what you do, and you do it so well. Thank you for taking our call today. Good to have you back on the program. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you. You too. Happy holidays and Happy New Year as well.
Thank you very much. Hour 3 of Tavis Smiley when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the